Hey everyone, happy Wednesday. I didn't post yesterday because there was so many things between Jesus clearing the temple and what we're going to talk about today that it was really hard to, one, just get my thoughts together and see what I wanted to talk about. But I decided to just combine today and yesterday because when we left off on Monday he had destroyed the marketplace and flipped tables, and that's my favorite Jesus. I love table flipping Jesus, but he was just so upset with the way that his father's house was being run and the corruption that was going on and the way that they had made it so difficult for anyone to get closer to God, because they couldn't afford things, they couldn't afford the sacrifices and stuff like that, and they were being taken advantage of. So after that are a lot. It's almost like about 3 chapters, um, because the Pharisees come in chapter 22, the end of 21, and they challenge his authority. They're asking him, like, basically, who gave you the right to do all this and say all these things, and who's giving you this authority? And he doesn't even answer them. He just gives them like parable after parable after parable, all showing them about themselves. And then he talks about taxes. I mean, he's pretty much just going one after the other. And then he gets into chapter 23 of, this Matthew, by the way, sorry. He gets into Matthew 23, and Brian calls it the woe chapter, because he's basically calling all these religious leaders out for being hypocrites and whitewashed tombs where they look pretty on the inside, but on the inside they're dead. And he just goes after these leaders because these are the people that are supposed to be teaching people about God and teaching people how to live, and yet they've warped and twisted the teaching so badly, and they've made it so crazy. Like, God only gave us 10 commandments, but there's like, I don't even know, I think there was like 600 something. Like, they just kept making rule upon rule upon rule, making it so difficult. And I'm so glad I didn't live back then, because I never would have been able to keep all those. But then, he leaves and he never goes to the temple again. He doesn't talk. There was no more preaching after that. Like, if you watch The Chosen, he basically says, like, I've said everything I needed to say. And he goes off and he's talking to his disciples about, the future. And, he's all but telling them that, he's about to die and they're about to crucify their Messiah, and that they're going to be scattered, and there's all this confusion, and they're confused, and I don't blame them, because he's not just outright saying, like, hey, this all has to happen, like, I'm going to have to be killed, and then I'll come back to life in 3 days. Don't worry, like, this is all going to work out. He doesn't really go into that. He always talks around it, and they're confused, and they're like, what's going on? We've been with you for 3 years. Like, why are you leaving us? And it's such a confusing time for them. All while that's going on, the Pharisees are plotting on how to kill him and how to get rid of him, because he's causing such havoc for them. And the people are loving him, and they know that they're very easily going to lose their positions, and power is a crazy thing. So we end up today, when Judas agrees to betray Jesus. He goes to the Pharisees and he's like, okay, how much are you going to give me in order to betray him? And that is in Matthew 26, starting at 14. And it says, Then Judas Iscariot, one of the 12 disciples, went to the leading priests and asked, How much will you pay me to betray Jesus to you? And they gave him 30 pieces of silver. From that time on, Judas began looking for an opportunity to betray Jesus. And Brian's notes say, let's see here. Sorry, it's I didn't know if it was prior. So it says selling out. Matthew alone records the exact amount of money Judas accepted to betray Jesus, 30 pieces of silver, the meager compensation paid by the owner of an ox that had killed a slave in Exodus 21:32. Judas, like the other disciples, had expected Jesus to start a political rebellion and overthrow Rome. As treasurer, he certainly assumed that he would be given an important position in Jesus' new government, but Jesus' ministry wasn't going the way Judas had hoped. He may have finally realized that his greedy desire for money and status wouldn't be realized if he followed Jesus. So he betrayed Jesus in exchange for money and the favor of the religious leaders. The religious leaders had planned to wait a few days to arrest Jesus, and that'll be in 26, 3 through 5. But with Judas's unexpected offer, they accelerated their plans. So, because of his desire for power, and this is Judas, and status, and he wanted to be elevated. And because of that, he was like, you know what? This guy's not going to get me what I want. So I'm just going to betray him, and, maybe these people can give me what I want. And it's so important that we're mindful of, are we trying to get our own way? And are we always trying to increase ourselves? Or are we allowing Christ to increase and our wants? And not that our wants and desires are bad, but anything that goes above what the Lord wants from you is always bad. And, if the Lord is asking you to do something, or if he is giving you opportunities and you're like, nah, I just want to do my own thing, that's where it becomes the problem. But, we're doing a sermon series at our church called Increase. And, it's one little verse, like, he must increase and I must decrease. And it's not saying that what we want and our hopes and our dreams are not important to God. But I have found that the closer I get to the Lord and the more time I spend with him, the more time his desires and my desires kind of start to get closer and closer. And I start to want to do the things that he wants from me. And I don't always understand it. Like when we moved here, I was like, why are we moving here? And it may not always be what I want. Like I've said it before, like I didn't want to move to the Midwest, but above all, I wanted to follow after the plans that God had for us. And now I love it. And I can't imagine living, not here, because we've just been so blessed, and our ministries are growing. We have amazing friends here. And I don't know if this is where God is going to keep us or not. Who knows? I just always say, buckle up and enjoy the ride. But it's getting easier and easier and easier as I say yes and I put God first, to be okay with whatever plans he has. And if that means that I may not be rich and famous, or I may not be Mrs. Popular, that's okay. I mean, that's not who I am anyway. I'm not really a fan of the spotlight anyway. But that is an area that I think Judas he really screwed up, because, oh, that's my cat, sorry. because it was what he wanted over God's plan. And as we'll read later on, it didn't go the way he expected either, because he didn't realize what he was doing when he was handing Jesus over. It ends up not being what he thought. So I hope you guys had a great day. I know for here it's been raining for 2 straight days, and it's probably going to rain for 3 more. But I will talk to you all tomorrow. And yeah, it's Maudie Thursday. I'm learning all this new lingo for Holy Week, but I believe we'll be talking about, oh man, I didn't look ahead. I only plan per day, so we'll find out tomorrow. But anyway, I think it's the Last Supper. Sorry. Yeah, it's the Last Supper. And then we'll go into the crucifixion, and then the day after, and then we are into Sunday, and we all know what Sunday brings. So have a great night, guys, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye.